Hi, I'm your host, Anand J. Sukadia, and this is the Limitless One podcast. Join me on this journey as I interview the most inspirational souls who are tapping into their limitless blueprint on a mental, physical, and spiritual level to thrive in uncertain times. If you feel you are so much more than just this body, just this life, and want to tap into your limitless potential, you're in the right place. Here we go, starseeds. Our greatest challenges in life turn out to be the fuel that propels us into our greatest victories. Our guest today was booking lead roles as a Hollywood actress, yet her life felt as if it was spinning out of control with anxiety, even though from the outside, she appeared to have it all together. Michelle Argyris shares her brave journey of turning pain into purpose and how she now empowers other women to do the same. Michelle Argyris is a women's embodiment mentor, certified trauma-informed breathwork facilitator, Reiki master, sound healer, and intuitive reader. Before dedicating herself to wellness, Michelle built a successful career acting with roles in General Hospital, Shadowhunters, and Lifetime's Homemade Christmas. Her personal journey of transformation inspired her to start Wintuition Wellness in 2023, a company that dedicated to helping individuals heal and thrive through offerings like one-on-one mentorship, plant medicine retreats, and self-development programs designed to empower high-achieving women to reclaim balance and their feminine energy. Michelle's mission is to support women in reconnecting with her heart and intuition and feeling deeply at home within themselves. So we have Michelle Argyris on our podcast, the Limitless One podcast. Michelle is a good friend, new friend of mine, but soul sister. We spent time together in Peru. And before we get into it, she did ask if we could open up with a small little prayer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So just taking a moment and just leaning into our hearts for a moment. And just feeling the beautiful air coming in through our nose and sinking down into our hearts. And just allowing an open space, a space filled with unconditional love, where we get to have conversations that are meaningful and thoughtful and helpful, insightful. And just before getting in and diving in, just really being able to feel not only each other's hearts on this call, but everyone who is listening. Allowing each word to resonate through the body. Taking what actually resonates and leaving what doesn't, knowing we have agency within what we choose for ourselves. And may we help continue to raise this beautiful collective, one word, one podcast at a time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. Yeah, the heart is the gateway to the superconscious. That just came to me when you were talking about it just now.
Oof, it feels so good. It's like even before starting a podcast, sometimes we're like, oh, have this happened just before and I have this to do after. And it's like, how can we center ourselves right now to really deeply be in this moment, right here with each other, and allow ourselves to be open vessels, open channels to have just a beautiful conversation for anyone who's listening. So yeah, thank you, Anand.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming on. So yeah, we got to spend some time together in Peru, and it was Robert Edward Grant organized this trip, and you were the breathwork facilitator on the trip. And the first time we met, actually, I was like, wow, you seem very familiar. Do we know each other? And you said the same thing to me. So I was like, okay, maybe, yeah, there's some familiarity there. But I'm like, soul family. This is like everyone I'm meeting is part of my soul family. And it's incredible because we could just dive right deep into the human experience and talk about like the things that really matter. There was no chit chat about like, oh, like,
what you
like
do, who
all
are
the
you?
small
No.
talk. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, right? It's like you're here to shed light, to find your own light, and then to share it with the world. And that's what I found across everybody. And especially you and I got to spend a lot of time together. So very grateful for that. So, to start the podcast, to set the tone, what does living a limitless life mean to you?
Living a limitless life feels like breaking down any barriers, any limited belief system, any unconscious shackles that hold us back from fully feeling alive, fully feeling expanded, and fully allowing freedom within our bodies and for those around us in this very contained world that we live in. So finding like freedom within this box and seeing how limitless and infinite it is the more you open your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. The mind and also the body and the work that you do with breath work is such a facilitation, such a technology that you can use to really free the body. I've experienced breath work a lot, especially with you. When we did it in Peru was amazing. My wife is a facilitator as well, and every time I do it, there's channels of stuff that open up to me that I haven't previously experienced before, but also the awareness of what I'm holding on to that is not serving me. So living in this 3D reality, it's really tough to not carry around all the junk with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of the breathwork stuff that you do and what you help people with actually helps them free their bodies.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you called it a technology. I've never thought of it as like a literal technology inside of your body that is there to support and serve you in, like you said, limitless, infinite ways. Breath work has been a huge, huge modality, probably the one that I love the most of all the modalities that I use for my work, because there's a difference between controlling your breath and letting your breath control you. And when you're in that process and you can allow the shift of letting your body do what it needs to do versus what you think it's supposed to do, changes how you receive. And so, like you said, our bodies carry so much limited belief systems and just these barriers that hold us back from fully being ourselves. And we're taught, like, almost from coming out of the womb, like, you're a boy, you're a girl, you have to do this, you have to work, you need to create money in order to put a roof over your head. So we're kind of forced in society to live, to survive, essentially. So it's not our fault. However, during this experience, how can we create more safety and more expression so that we feel good in our bodies while having this human experience? And so breathwork is, for me, the quickest way to really dive into your unconscious, your subconscious, and actually see and hear the wisdom and intelligence of our bodies.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
let's hear about your story. How did you come to this place in your life? I know that you've done many different things and had a very interesting life up until now. You're super young too. But yeah, to walk us through how you got to this place.
Yeah, oof, it's so interesting. My throat just got tight as soon as you asked that. And then my heart opened at the same time. So it's interesting how my throat feels constricted because I'm about to share something. And my heart's also like, yes, you can do this. It's safe. Once upon a time, it wouldn't have been. And I think over time, I've built that safety with myself to start opening up more stories and sharing more. But in my life, I was working as an actress for many, many years, which I loved and adored for so long. But there was this part of me that needed to prove so badly that I could do it. And so if I got an audition that came in my inbox, I was like, and my nervous system would go off and I'd be all excited and nervous. And like, it would be my only thing I'd be focusing on. And I had, a decent career as an actress. I was doing a lot of Lifetime movies, Christmas movies, rom-coms, or on the opposite spectrum, I was like the evil fairy that comes in on Shadowhunters, or like I played an evil gym instructor on General Hospital, just interesting, different characters. And I think it came to, and I was also at the same time running a business, which I started by myself as a solo female entrepreneur from the age of 21. I had it for 12 years. And that business was Landmark Staffing, which I brought communities together. So I love bringing people together, and I was really good at it. And so when clients needed specific people for certain branding and executions and activations, I was their go-to to bring everyone in community. So everything on the outside looked great. I was doing back-to-back movies. I, had this business, and, I was blessed to be able to do all these things, but something inside of me was crumpling. It felt like I was rotting. There was a part of me that wasn't feeling expressed. I felt depressed. I had severe anxiety to the point where I think I mentioned to you guys in our Peru workshop as well. I was going to like a berries boot camp, which is just like, one of those exercise classes. This place was across the street from me, and I got lost on my way there. My girlfriend was meeting me, and she said, Michelle, where are you? Because I was late. I said, sorry, I got lost. She said, don't you live across the street? And I was like, yes. But my anxiety, my internal world was circling. It felt, I don't like to say dark, because I feel like dark and light are they're both neutral. So we can get into that maybe, but there was a painful part of me that felt very disconnected despite how everything was going. And I couldn't tell anyone, because I felt like I had to sit in that seat of, look, everything's going great, and hold it together and be this inspiring and uplifting human that everyone expects me to be. And I realized no one's putting that expectation on me except for myself, which I didn't notice at the moment. It came through my mushroom journey, which we can get into in a minute too. I know we're both huge advocates for certain psychedelics and how they can be used to help us in our processes, or I'll speak for myself. But yeah, essentially it came to a moment in time where I was depleted and depressed, and I didn't want to be here anymore. And that sucks. That sucks. And I'm sure there's many other people out there that feel similarly with different situations that come up for them. But really what it is our bodies are not working with us. They start to work against us. And that's when we start to feel sick. And it's also scary to reach out for help. Especially if you identify as the helper and you're the one helping everybody. Like, how do you admit your vulnerability that you actually don't have your shit together? And then you need some help too. So to make a long story a little bit tighter, the same day when I went to Barry's boot camp, my girlfriend said, hey, I have something that might be able to help you. I'm gonna get my thumbs up here. And so I said, what is it? And she's like, why don't you try? She's like, this changed my life. She had an eating disorder, and she was also had alcoholism. And she said, this changed my life. I did one journey. I've never touched alcohol ever again. And I have a really healthy relationship now to my body. And I said, wow, I could see on her, when people tell you something, you're like, yeah, right. But I could feel her palpitating love, this insane amount of love that you cannot deny. And I knew she was telling me the truth. And so as much as I was like, I'm doing a mushroom journey, I'm a control freak. I don't want to lose my mind. That's scary as shit, But I saw how much love she had in that moment. And it just made me feel what's scarier than losing my mind potentially in a mushroom journey for a couple of hours is how I feel right now. This is scary. And so I felt this little shift of like curiosity around maybe what it could be or what could be possible for me. And then I dove in. So long story short, I did this mushroom journey. It was done so beautifully, intentionally, sacredly. It was done with one facilitator. So someone was holding the space for me so that I could venture where I needed to go, knowing that my physical body was going to be safe. The spiritual body will do what it needs to do, and no one can foresee what that's going to look like when you jump into a journey. But it was the most incredible, loving remembrance I've ever had in my life. I had never seen myself in this way. I was like, oh my God, here you are. You were here the whole time. You were hiding behind limited beliefs. You were hiding behind identities. You were hiding behind titles. You were hiding behind all these things. But really, in the essence of who you are, it's right here. And you are love. You are unconditional love. And so, yeah, really in my journey, I relinquished my control, and I was able to see that beyond that barrier, which was so scary to look, because to me, that was like death. It felt like death almost in my journey, in my ceremony. But when I relinquished the control, it was infinite, limitless amounts of insane love. I had no space, and time did not exist. So that's another thing I realized in my ceremony. When you are in love, space and time do not exist. There's no top, bottom, there's no container. And that's what we actually are in the essence of ourselves. But we're put into a human body, and then we're like, okay, go. And we're like, whoo, this is hard. This ego is attached. It's telling us all these things. There hurts, there's pain, there's, all these things. But like, if you come back to the center of who you are, it is pure love. And so to answer back to the question, it's breath work too was a huge component to, and plant medicine, to really remembering who I am and then integrating that after, which is really important too. I think a lot of people go and do a ceremony, they have this insane experience, they can feel the magic within themselves, and then they forget. And so it's our responsibility to keep up the remembrance through whatever practices you need to do, the people you hang out with, the frequencies you're with. And this is why Peru, for me, I started to get in my headspace a lot before we got there. And you guys blasted, like, oh, I'm going to like, you guys blasted me open, and the land blasted me open in ways I wasn't even expecting. I've already done so much work. But the beautiful thing about the work is you never reach healed. We're never healed. We're always healing. And you never know when or where you need to receive it. And as soon as you surrender, it took me losing my phone in Peru and puking my guts out to get there. But it was the greatest gift I ever got. And I'm just so incredibly thankful. You have no idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a magical journey, and there's so much to unpack with everything you just shared there. I want to go back to the moment where you were at that crossroads of having that experience where you forgot how to get to the workout, all this anxiety, all this frustration, and your whole world is spinning. And then you're met with love by your friend, and she shares this experience that she had that changed her life. A lot of people will, or many people have that kind of crossroads where the universe will show them there's an option to get out, but yet they choose to stay in a comfortable misery because that's all they know. And to step outside of your comfort zone, sometimes it's the scariest thing ever. And those who have stepped out continuously know it's only going to give you a better quality of life every single time. You get lessons, you get experiences, you get successes, you get so many things from it by just stepping out. But what was it, the deciding factor that allowed you to step into that experience for the mushroom ceremony, versus letting your ego and letting your identity hold you back from it?
I think I realized that I was dying inside. Like there was a death that was happening, whether I liked it or not. And I needed to shed that in order to see what else was there. It's like you get to this point where you have nothing left. There was nothing to lose, really, is how I can. There was nothing to lose by taking a look at that point. I had everything to lose if I didn't. I was already losing myself. And that was really painful. And it was the greatest gift I gave myself was diving into something I don't know. I think people don't want to do things they don't know, but that's where the transformation and the impact can happen. And so I'm just sending so much love to all the souls out there that are trying things that they don't know, to see what is possible for them, because it's not just for you, it's for every other person you come in contact with for the rest of your life. It's a mycelium web of love that just keeps transferring. And people think, oh, it won't matter, it's just little me. No, you matter a lot more than you think. And every time you elevate your frequency into love, you are changing the world. If people knew that to be true, we don't trust it. Oh yeah, that can't be true. Well, no, what if it is true? Like, what if we change that thought? What if this is true? Every time I give myself the opportunity to expand, I'm actually expanding the world with me. Then would we show up for ourselves more, knowing it's not just for us, it's for a massive collective?
Yeah. It's such a huge concept to understand the magnitude of power that each of us carry. And I talk to people a lot, and somebody told me on the trip, is like, your presence is powerful. And I never thought of that, because I always think, okay, having conversations with people, you can elevate them, or you can show them a different way in terms of how to find the light within them. But sometimes you resonate at a level where every room you walk into, you're changing the energy. And the more work we can do on ourselves and get to that place, like you're lighting people up without even talking to them. And it's so powerful when we understand the deeper that we can go into this work and just try different things, right? So if we've tried the same things over and over and nothing is working to get us happier or to get us healthier, there's got to be a way. There's other people that are doing it, right? So just seek out different ways of doing things, and more often than not, you're going to have to step outside of what you think you know is to be best for yourself, and just have faith in that next step, and just never give up. The game ends when we stop trying, right? So there's no destination, like you said. It's only the journey that we have to be grateful for and to step into in that present moment every single day.
Yeah, yeah, I love everything that you're saying. And it takes courage, it takes a lot of courage to trust that we can try something and that it's safe, right? I think we're taught that things are unsafe everywhere unless we've done it before and we can kind of control how it might play out. And then life will throw you curveballs where you can't control shit. And you have to surrender and like go with it. So, yeah, it's interesting. Peru was like a massive worthiness upgrade. I felt that it shifted an internal, something moved and shook internally. And I felt it for myself, but I also felt it within you and everyone else that was there. It's not I'm going to upgrade myself. It's a worthiness upgrade. It's knowing you are worthy to be human, and that human being, tying it back to what you say. I like how you said like the show and tell. When you are in that magnetism, that frequency, you don't have to explain it. You can simply be, and it's palpable, it's magnetic, and you can tell, wow, what is it about this person that feels so connected and tapped in? I.e., Robert would be a really great example too. He speaks and we're all just like, we don't even know what you're saying all the time, but yes to that. You can just tell the frequency of what he's doing. Like, I didn't see every single elephant in every single, spot that we looked at, but I trust and could feel that there was an elevation of frequency, which is like upgrading this, like this for me, this worthiness within myself to be like, wow, what if I can see it? Like, what if my mind's saying I can't see them? But like, what if the possibility that they are there? And so I got curious, and I, would start to see certain things here and there. Some of you felt maybe more open to like a 20D of some sort that I'm working my way towards. But, it's just, yeah, it's incredible. It's fascinating. And I'm so grateful I got to share that with you. We had so many great moments, like you said.
Oh, for sure. And I think, yeah, authenticity is the biggest thing. Like, you mentioned Robert, and like being authentic in who he is, and every word that comes out of his mouth is in alignment with what his belief system is. So yeah, that's magnetic that people kind of feel that. And I think that going back to, your experience before you started going down this path, it's like when we have this identity that we think we are something, and we've spent a lifetime creating this image of ourselves. And I've done it for a long time in my life. And then I had this plant medicine journey where, holy shit, everything is an illusion. You get to choose your identity at every single moment of who you are, what you want to be. And the work that Dr. Joe Dispenza does is like, he talks about how 99% of your thoughts today are the same as the ones yesterday. So when you wake up and you think about, oh, where's that back pain? Oh, there it is. And you're validating yourself. So you're constantly creating this identity and fighting so hard to maintain the identity. So I think plant medicine really just shakes all of it up to allow you to strip down to nothingness, to what you truly are. And that's what you brought it back to with this just infinite love. And when you can tap into that waterfall of love, holy shit, it will change your life. And sometimes we're not able to, like after a ceremony, we have this amazing experience, and then, yeah, we have to come back to the 3D world. So integration is so important, and to continue to do the things like meditation, breath work, practices that get us back into that flow. Yeah, it's different, obviously, when you're on psychedelics, but just knowing that that is available to you at any time. Just having the awareness that infinite love, that divine love, God is always blessing you. Just knowing that versus not knowing that is a whole different thing in life. Is you're walking a different person when you know you can tap into it.
Wow. Yeah, beautifully said. Two things I want to speak to. One is the 99% of your thoughts were the same as they were yesterday. I've never heard that before. So my brain just like sat with that. And it reminds me, I think this is why like the breath work and these types of modalities are so powerful, because we can go to therapy and keep talking about the problem over and over again. But by doing that, you're actually keeping it alive. So when are we going to find the courage and the safety within our bodies? It takes trust and safety to be able to even shift into this, to see what else, like how we can actually change those thoughts and no longer have them be a reality in our life, and start to change that. And that would be hard. If 99% was the same as yesterday, then we got to move, like, even if it's a smidgen, a tiny sip at a time of just changing. And yeah, not keeping those thoughts alive. The other thing I wanted to talk about too was when you were saying integration. I think for anyone who's like curious about plant medicine, I think pre-integration and post-integration, before and after a ceremony, is so imperative. It creates the intention to why you're doing it, right? Anyone can go and take a mushroom and eat it, go and, and do it in their way. That's fine. But why are you doing it? Like, what do you need inside of you that needs to change and shift? And if you haven't done the pre-work to see like, okay, what is my intention for doing this? And is there a real call inside of me? How would you describe a call, like an inner calling? When you feel like that calling, like
Yeah,
how would we describe that?
just for me, it's having an honest conversation with myself and allowing whatever my higher self wants to communicate. I think that it's really important to be totally honest with ourselves, right? And just be open to whatever wants to flow through rather than try to control the thoughts. Because I used to be so much just in the mind, and everything has to be done from an intellectual place. Even my spirituality in the past was done from an intellectual place. So when you can travel from the intellect into the heart, now you're operating and you're receiving at a different level of quality of, I guess, communication.
Yeah, really beautiful. And so, yeah, and when we have that the calling, and we're in our higher self, and we can tell that this is the right time and space for us to explore, that helps us start to create depth into why we are doing it. So there's a more of a through line to the ceremony, and there's a preparation. There's a dieta that you can, implement as well, which can help really open up your channel to be able to hear and listen to the codes and the blessings that come through. Ceremonies, I don't want to say the easiest part, but that requires just showing up and just surrendering and letting spirit do whatever it is that needs to show up for you. And then the post-integration, which is the part that most people miss, the part that actually creates change and shifts things internally, which in turn shifts things externally, is the post-integration. What are we going to do with the information you just received? When we go back into being, our human life with all our triggers that come up, and we go back to our families, we go back to our partnerships and back to work, how can we take the information we received and actually apply it into, our future and into every moment that we're in after ceremony? And so, yeah, I just want to name that, because if anyone's curious or interested and they say, oh, I had a bad experience. Well, how did you do it? Like, how was it done? Did you have someone hold you in the space? Were you by yourself? What, like, was there music? Were there instruments? Were you blindfolded? Were you, like, how did it look for you? Because that will also play into what kind of experience you have. The experience I had changed my life forever, and I have not had a calling to do another ceremony since. It's been
Wow.
3 years. It's been 3 years. I'm still integrating. And in my integration, I birthed Wintuition. I birthed, dozens and dozens of ceremonies with, cacao full moon ceremonies, women's sacred sensuality workshops. It's like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew I was doing it. It was like, I knew in my heart, this feels so aligned and purposeful and right. So I never know what my next step is going to be, but I already trust it, because I feel like I've aligned and I'm in my heart. And when you're in your heart, you're in your purpose. And when you're in your purpose, life can jump, shake, do all the things it wants to do, but you just know that you know why you are here. And sometimes people spend a lifetime figuring out their why. And I'm just so grateful I took a chance on myself so I could give myself that gift. And in return, it has gifted every person that I've been able to help host, create containers with, so that they could see what's possible within themselves as well. That's the cool thing. No one can no one can really help you heal, but people can hold containers in which you can see how you can heal yourself. And you have to be ready. If you say no to yourself, it doesn't matter who, what, where is willing to support you. Like you have to say yes.
That's so inspirational. And I love the fact that you shared, and this is very, I would say it's very rare that I've talked to people that, or talked to somebody that did one ceremony and is continuing to integrate, which is such a beautiful thing to hear, because you hear the opposite side is like, some people do ayahuasca ceremonies every weekend, or they do it recreationally with friends. And I think that it's such sacred medicine, and to honor it, and the fact that you were able to extract so many wisdom nuggets out of that, and also change your career path, and are now facilitating healing for other people. It is incredible. 3 years ago, one day of work that you did, and you're still working through that. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I think the reason I was able to keep it alive the way I have is because in facilitating, you are still healing parts of yourself. It's a remembrance. Remember, I was saying there was like a remembrance in my ceremony. And every time I see a small shift in someone else, it reminds me of, I can see them slowly starting to remember. And it's a consistency and an accountability after ceremony that has been created. So I've been able to keep this up and continue to integrate without forgetting. That was really key and really important too. So yeah, it's wild.
So how do you, okay, so say you have such a powerful experience on psilocybin or any type of psychedelic. What are the next steps that you do? Do you recommend journaling, breathwork practices, any other things that you make habits out of the practice?
Definitely. So the first thing I would say is community. Other people who speak the same language as you, who have had these experiences. Because I'm sure you've noticed too over time, like I used to, talk with more drama and think, I don't have time. I literally, my spirit crunches. I doesn't even know how to like do drama anymore. I'm just so enlightened around other people that want to talk about this stuff. Like that lights me up so, so much. And so I surround myself with so much community, and I've built a lot of community, which also came from Landmark. So I feel like it's always been in me to want to build community. And then Wintuition was now building community like I did before, but in the thing that I love the most, spirituality, self-development, healing. Amazing. So with that, I've created a couple different communities, one that is Illuminate, and the other is She Code, which is a group container for women, and Illuminate is co-ed. And so community would be one thing, breath work, but consistent. People do breath work once and they're like, oh my God, I feel so good. And then they come to me going, oh, I'm falling back into my old ways. I'm like, when's the last time you did breath work? Oh yeah. Well, right. Of course, it's this consistency. Like consistency is loving. It doesn't have to be rigid, because we don't want to be like, you have to meditate now. Put it in your to-do list. First thing on the day, get your meditation done, because it has to come from our heart. We don't want meditation coming from our heads either. But finding some yummy, at least 20% of your day that is geared in your heart, that allows you to do any modality that speaks to you. It could be breath work, it could be meditation, it could be tapping, it can be vocal activations. That works really well for me, for many, many different reasons, but vocal activations helps the energy get out of my body. I think what happens too is we store so much energy in our bodies, and then we feel a crunch somewhere, and it's like, oh, what is this? And we're like, this feels like sadness. And then we sit in our sadness, and it's like, hold on. What if we didn't have to attach an emotion to it? What if there's just a part of your body that needs some release? What if you just chose to breathe for yourself for 20 minutes, but bring your awareness to the part that's feeling that energetic kind of stuckness and start to move it, right? Yeah, our bodies are so insanely intelligent, and there's just so many different ways and modalities that we could use to help support that. There's so many more I could probably think of right now, but I'm going to leave that there. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I love
Okay.
all of those. I love journaling as well. And I've really
Yes.
focused a lot of time lately doing it. And I just feel like it's just having a conversation with my higher self. And the more the words I can get out, the emotions I can release, it's such a catharsis where these things that I hold on to in the head and constantly loop in my mind, if I write it down, it's like, okay, now it's written down. I'm not going to forget it. And I can just release it. And, what you talk about breath work, I love how during the breath work ceremony we did in Peru, you said it's called breath work for a reason. There's the work part. It's not just, you're just breathing for nothing. You got to make it happen.
Yeah, I had to warn people because I had a feeling we had some new breathers. Because I asked them, like, has everyone breathed and done holotropic style breath? They're like, I think so. I'm like, okay, no, they haven't. You would know so if you've done that holotropic style breath. So I felt I wanted to give the forewarning and just set the expectation before we get going. Because if they thought it was going to be all namaste, it was definitely going to be, a more vocal and explosive experience, which is so loving. Like, how loving is it to allow your body to express in ways that you might have your entire life been told that it's not right, or shamed to feel like you want to just be like, bleh, or just sticking out your tongue and being like, woo, and just like letting out stuff, releasing it, and just being you. I think that's one thing I strive for, is helping people feel safe to be themselves and be fully expressed in their pain, expressed in their joy, expressed at both at the same time. It doesn't have to be one or the other, being this full spectrum human, like a canvas that's just being colored with different emotions that are so beautiful. We associate pain. Oh, it's a bad emotion. Why? Pain creates more love. Pain connects us together as human beings. And it's not about the pain. It's how do we transmute it? What are we going to do with the pain? Are we going to lean on alcohol? Or are we going to use it and actually transmute it into art, into songs, into paintings, into breath, into love? That's a choice that we have. That's a choice, right?
Yeah, it's beautifully said. So when we did the breath work, you were our facilitator, and you had quite a journey getting to that point of facilitating for us. Can you tell us a little bit about how everything went for you the moment you landed into Peru?
Yes, I think this is necessary. So, speaking of journeys, I had in my mind, do I have a calling for ayahuasca? And I had to sit with myself. Is this a calling? Is this not a calling? And I was like, I'm just going to not book anything and just feel into how this plays out. And lo and behold, Peru was the ceremony. I did not need to go do ayahuasca. So as soon as I land, I'm within 24 hours, I said hello to you. And I remember our meeting, and like you said, it was like we had known each other, and I was like, hi. And I was all smiley and happy and healthy at that moment. Fast forward 12 hours, and I'm so sick in the hospital. I'm spewing out of every hole in my body. It was literally like just puking acid, and it was burning my throat. And I was hugging this toilet in a hospital in the middle of Peru with IV and oxygen tanks on my face. And I thought to myself, why is this happening? I was supposed to be presenting to you guys that night, and then Robert had to push it to the next morning, which I was so, so grateful for, because I knew in my heart that the service was still going to be done despite how ill I was. I just didn't know how, but I trusted. I was like, I'm literally like this. My face is yellow and my tongue is white and I just stink right now, but somehow I'm going to show up. And so I stayed in the hospital till 5 a.m. on the IV, the oxygen tank. And it took every willpower in me to physically stand up to get in the ambulance that took me back to the home, or to our hotel. And it was a choice in my mind where I just chose that it was going to happen no matter what, even if my physical body was giving up on me. even if I had to vomit in front of you guys in the middle of my presentation, it was happening. I accepted that. That's again the thoughts. I was changing the thought. The thought is it's going to happen. And so I went back to the hotel, took a shower, brushed my teeth, drank some water, got a little more oxygen just before showing up, painted my face, put some feather earrings on, showed up, right? And I think what felt really good was the amount of love that was in the room when I showed up, even though I came midway through the trip, was so caring. And I felt your love from even Mother Earth. Like you guys have been surrounded with all the blessings of Peru and all the sights you got to see. I felt that in the room. I felt you in the room. And I felt courage and I felt strength that was coming. I knew that my higher self was going to bring strength, even though my physical self had nothing, nothing. And then I looked at you guys and I said, good morning. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't just puking like 2 hours ago, but we're here. And, you know, I have a workshop for you guys and it's going to be epic. And let's get going. Let's do the thing. Right. And then I healed through the workshop with you guys. Some higher power came through. I became a vessel and a channel. It was not even me speaking. And words were flying out that even while I'm hearing it, I'm like, whoa, I needed that. You know, like it's so interesting when you're in a channeling. And that higher source was the healing tool for all of us in that space. And then I lost my phone right after that ceremony, got stolen or lost, whatever it ended up being.
That's part of the ceremony.
Oh God. I was like, I was working through me. I did not have to take medicine to experience her blessings. I received them. I received them so deeply. And to, tie this story up, you know, without a phone, you have nothing to do except to listen. I drank you guys in. I drank in those mountains. I couldn't hide behind like, look at what my dog looks like and show you guys Petrie or like, you know, when you're having an awkward conversation, you're done talking to someone, you feel like, you know, you just go like this and it's an easy out. I didn't have that choice for days. I had to sit there and literally actively listen. And it made my heart open so wide, mixed with the activations we had in Peru, mixed with the land, mixed with the people. It was just such a heart opening upgrade to my worthiness, which is what came through for me. And that was the medicine I received. And I did not need to do Aya. And this is where I think it's important to check in with the self. Is this something I need? Is this a calling? Or not, because I think there's a readiness to plant medicine as well. And it's not the answer. I want to emphasize that plant medicine is not your answer, but it can be a beautiful tool to open up our awareness to see beyond what like just the human mind can generally see. Although you can do that with meditation and stuff too. There's different meditations, but it is a very fast way to open up the mind. I will give it that. And it was the biggest blessing I ever received. So I absolutely would do it again, but when the right time comes, and I'm going to listen to my heart, like you said, and that intuitive body to know when that is.
For sure. Discernment and understanding. Yeah. Like being okay with the decision. Okay. Yeah. I came here with the intention of doing ayahuasca and I got so much more than I could have ever imagined without even doing it. It's funny. I was with somebody years ago and we were about to do an ayahuasca ceremony. And the night before she started throwing up, like the entire night. And she's like, I think the medicine is working before I'm even, you know, starting it. I was like, yeah, it seems like it is. And it's very true. And especially like just being in Peru, it is the medicine. Like when we did breathwork in the hotel, we were staying at a JW Marriott hotel, yet it was built on an ancient site. And the room that we were in, we could actually see like these ancient stones all around us. I don't know if you saw on the side of the room. Yeah,
Wow.
Basically there's megalithic stones in the room. So there was a lot of charged energy in there, and just being 11,200 feet up in the air, adjusting to that altitude, there's a process, an initiation that you go through. It took me 3 days to get over that. And then once I got over it, I acclimated to the altitude, just the appreciation for the land when I saw these sites. And, you know, I was just like blown away at the level of intricacy, the level of detail, the straight lines, all of the cuts that they made into rocks where like literally you could put your finger over these rocks, these straight lines, and you could cut them because they're so sharp. Still, And the thought is that our tour guide even said, like, he believes it's from the Lemurian period of 80,000 years ago. So for these things to last the test of time, why do you think that they made these things?
I think that the intelligence that we remember throughout our lifetime is not new. I think every period, whether it was 100 years ago, thousands of years ago, or millions of years ago, however far we go back, this information has always been there. And I think it's probably the same. It's like, unless we are open to seeing it, we won't. And so I just think it comes back to that deep remembrance of everything. And it will be this when we die, for the people who are here 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, they're going to look at the same structures and probably ask themselves the same question.
Yeah, it's absolutely a remembrance. Because I even felt when I was at these sites, I was like, yeah, I've definitely been here before. I've tapped into this intelligence, this consciousness, and it was like almost like ancestors that actually were us that kind of left this for us to remember, to come back, to see it, to appreciate it, and then to start changing the timelines and just start elevating ourselves so we become that super consciousness that they were, and have all the blessings and all the intelligence that they had.
Amen. Also, like, this is where I love these types of conversations, because there's no right or wrong. It's just like opening up to grander visions of like what could be or what is. What if we are our ancestors? What if we are all the previous versions that have seen it before? And what if it's not in the past or in the future? What if it's all happening simultaneously right now? Like, we are in the dinosaur era and here and in every era that we haven't quite discovered yet as ourselves, all in one moment. It reminds me of that movie. What was it called? Everything
Interstellar. Oh, that one. Yeah. So Interstellar was one, and then Everything All at Once or something like that.
Yeah. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it's
that's the one.
Might be wrong. Yeah.
That was a great movie. And I truly believe it. Like, there's a soul aspects of us that are, like in each timeline. And as we merge them, I think that's what psychedelics does. It allows you to see everything from a bigger perspective, looking at it from 30,000 feet in the air and seeing, oh, wow, all of this is you. It's not just this physical body, this Indian guy living in Jersey City. Like, that's not just who you are. There's a lot more to it than just that. That is just the element which you choose to identify with in this certain way that you perceive consciousness.
Oof. The mind. Just even thinking of this, it's like, whoa, like, what are the infinite possibilities of like what we might not even be scratching the surface yet? It's 100%. Just wild. Another something I'll share too, speaking on this, when I had thought I was going to do Aya, and this is sans any psychedelics, I just was going to bed one evening. This was maybe like a month ago. Or 2 months ago, I think, before I even knew I was going to Peru. And something strange happened. I wasn't sleeping, and I swear I was awake, but I could have been in that in-betweeny kind of space. And all of a sudden, it was like I was looking in a kaleidoscope of like almost like eyes, but every eye was a different woman, and different age, color, size, just like all different women. And I asked, I'm like, what is this? And I heard, this is you. And I went, oh my God. So to me, it was like seeing myself in a million different women all at the same time. And my mother was in there too. But I didn't have just the mother that I know in this lifetime that looks like she does and speaks like she does and acts like she does. There was like the same amount of women there were that were me. There were mothers, and they all looked so different too. Like, some of them felt ancient, some of them felt futuristic. Like, there was just so many of them. And I felt like I was literally back in my mushroom journey from 3 years ago. And that's why I was like, oh, wow, is this a calling? Because I was like, am I getting a calling? I needed to check in with myself. Am I getting a calling? So I was almost certain I was going to do ayahuasca, but I didn't, which means I wasn't going to, right? Like, and so here we are. And the experience I had was such that I did, but I didn't actually need it. So it was interesting. I wanted to bring that up too, speaking of this, like everything all at once, all the time. and how the brain can, like, what is the science behind that? How do you, I can tell you guys this, you can believe me or not, that I had that experience, but in my body, it happened. And no, I didn't take anything for it. It just literally, like, something opened. I went somewhere. I was somewhere. I was witnessing something I've never seen before. And so this is where it gets really interesting, because if people can't experience or see it, and we're just explaining like a feeling or something we saw that they can't, people tend not to believe unless they experience it themselves.
Yeah, very well said. And like I totally agree, because I have had experiences in my life where it just blew my mind, and I'm like, wait a second, was that reality? Was that a different dimension? Even just the fact that we go to sleep and we dream at night. How do you
Mm-hmm.
know that's not the reality and this is like the sleeping portion? Or how
Oh
do you
my
know
God, that's great.
or how do you know that this lifetime, it maybe it's like a blink of an eye, it's just like a small little like dream that we have, and we wake up and we're like in some like matrix pod that's like taking our energy out of our bodies. You have no idea what reality is. And yeah, when you have these experiences that elevates your consciousness, you realize, yeah, this is just a small little fractal of everything. And if God is
Mm,
everything and we're a fractal
mm,
of God, if we could tap into the mainframe, then we have the ability to see different vantage points of everything. So you
yeah.
are your mother, you are your ancestors, you are every woman that's ever created. Their pain is your pain, their pleasure is your pleasure. It is all one.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And then hearing you say this too, it makes me think about how right everyone wants to be and how right our world wants to be. But how can you be right if every single one of our worlds look different? Of course, you're going to be right for your world and the way in which you've seen it thus far and the way in which you can understand it. Right. And I think a lot of our separation and division on our planet in so many different ways is from people wanting to be right. But of course, you're right for your own experience. Duh. Right. Of course. But can we be open to somebody else's lens and their experience too? And this is where love can pour in. Love versus being right. So key to like unlocking that limitless, back to that word. I love that limitless potential in us.
Yeah, the duality of right versus wrong, left versus right, it's all
Mm,
perspective.
mm,
If we are just in love and have compassion for others and look at everybody as a mirror of ourselves, their challenges, their desires, everything is part of us. So give everybody the autonomy as long as they're not infringing on your free will. I think that's where
right.
the distinction is.
Mm,
But allow other people to experience their life in the best way they know how. And I've really been working on that in my own life of just try not to judge other people, because again, you never went through their life. If you had their life, you would probably think like them too. I believe everything is right in the world, which I believe, right? It's an egoic place. And yeah, you could come from a good place, but still, the ego traps us a lot of times.
yeah, I completely hear you on that. The ego comes in and grounds us, right? And just like knocks us sideways sometimes. But, at the same, bringing in compassion even for the ego, because what the ego is doing is just trying to make sense and protect. It's not like I want to hurt you. It's just I want to protect. And so in order for us to feel safe, we lean sometimes into like the ego, or, it's just like little, like we say, little children, little inner children that are trying to make their way and trying to be seen, heard, validated. And so that egoistic part of ourselves shows up because it's getting challenged and it feels scared. And so, but if we can bring compassion to every single little part of this, let's call it this like little scared child inside of us, then we can start to like reparent in different ways that feel softer and easeful. And we start to see ourselves. We can start to celebrate ourselves. We can start to really hold ourselves and support ourselves in ways where we're not reaching to someone else to do it for us. We can finally do it within our own body. And then we can truly be authentic, like you were saying earlier, that authenticity. And yeah, that's how we can connect with each other too.
For
When
sure.
we're
One of the things I always tell myself is look at everybody as the childhood version of themselves. maybe they didn't receive the love that they wanted, or they didn't get that toy that they wanted, or their friend moved out of town and they have that abandonment. So there's so many things that cause us to act the way we do as adults, these imperfect beings, based on our childhood. And then also having the compassion for ourselves, like sending that childhood version of yourself love at every stage whenever you felt unworthy, or that you weren't loved, or that fear that you had, like all of these stages of yourself, sending that person. Because if we're living in this timeless reality where we can tap in and we can be in every single moment, I have a picture of my childhood version, like the 4-year-old version of myself on my bathroom mirror.
I was just going to say, here's another tool, and you said it for me. It's like you heard my thoughts. Oh, great.
Yeah, and I send him love every day. And then it brings me back to like the slingshot of, okay, now I am a dad, and I get to be a dad for this amazing soul who is just so full of light. And how do I maintain, or allow him to maintain his light and not dissipate it, and just to give him inspiration and to think that he's limitless. So it's come full circle. So in order for me to do it for him, I have to do it for my childhood version of myself, and vice versa, because it's all one.
I love that so much. How sweet. First of all, how cute. How cute as a kid, right? You see them on your mirror and you're just like, wow, I just was so mean to this little kid today. Why? They're trying their best. And so, yeah, for anyone listening, if you don't already have a sweet, cute little picture of you, put it on your mirror somewhere that you will go to throughout your day. And just remember that little inner child lives within you. And so how would you want to treat them? Because they are you, Another tool, like a mirror work tool is, have you ever just like, some people do it in nude, or you can do it with your clothes, but just literally staring in the mirror. And that's all you do. That's your job. You just stare in the mirror. It's mirror work. Have you tried that?
I haven't actually. I'm going to do it though.
Yeah. It's very, it's so many things, because one thing I'll notice for me, the physical body I see for maybe like 1 minute, and then that's gone. And then I'm just staring into, my eyes, and then I can see just another body and another body, an energetic body, a spiritual body. This, like, it just starts expanding. And then you realize how insignificant, like, just the physical body is. At least that was my experience of it. And a very powerful practice to do. And, sometimes feeling bare, being in the nude, like standing in front of yourself with no barriers. Like, how do you feel when you look at yourself? Do you feel love? Do you feel fear? Do you feel shame? Like, what shows up for you? It's very revealing. So yeah, anyone listening, trying some mirror work would be also super supportive.
Amazing. I love that. I'm going to start doing that for sure.
I'm curious. I try it. Tell me about it after.
Will do for sure. So Michelle, can you tell us, you mentioned it a little while ago, but can you tell us a little bit about how you work with individuals and groups in your coaching programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple different ways in which I work. I do the individual sessions for the woman who's really deeply looking to go do the deep dive and do it over a period of time. I think people often think they get one session and then things are just going to change. And like I said, for myself, that was never the case. I've consistently poured into myself. So I think having an honest reflector and a big cheerleader for you who's neutral is important. So for example, I always have mentorship myself. Even when I'm teaching, I'm a student forever. I'm always going to be, because I can't see my unconscious beliefs, which is why they're unconscious, right? But I could see someone else's because they're not seeing it. And so having someone to help us reflect, I think is imperative in our growth, just always. So yeah, so I work one-on-one. I also have She Code, which is starting in January, which is exciting. We have a bunch of the gals from Peru in it. And yeah, it's just a beautiful container. I envision this beautiful playground where women can come together and feel supported, feel inspired, and to set goals and recreate habits within an 8-week period. where, it's for the high achieving woman who puts a lot of pressure on herself, who's successful, but also, at the cost of something, her nervous system, her worth, her anxiety, and being able to dial it back and find that yummy feminine softness so that we can still execute our work, but feel better while doing it. So I think that was something super important. So I'm going to take them through that 3 fun phases: soak it, wash it, wear it. So, seeing what possibilities, where do we want to go, washing the limited belief systems, shedding the skin, and then wearing that confidence, and then being in service and in that purpose is the goal of the program. And then being able to do it with sacred sisters and a support and a community, which is also very, very important in our healing process as well. And then, we do different ceremonies. And what else do I have coming up? Oh, Illuminate, which is an online community I host. This is co-ed. And there's dozens and dozens of breath work and meditations that are live and replays. So super convenient for anyone that's just looking to keep it up, not just do it once, but keep it up. And I think there's probably more things, but that's what I'll say for now.
That's beautiful. And thank you for sharing your gifts with the world. It's really incredible to see people who found the light within themselves and then they want to share that with others. And I truly believe it is our birthright to live the life we desire. And once we can understand, like, life is so much more than just working and going through the motions and just, working for years and years and years and then retiring, hopefully, and having a nice retirement, but there's so much richness in life that we can tap into. And when we have the right tools, when we're around the right people that inspire us, one of the biggest things in my life is once I started changing my surroundings in terms of community, in terms of friends, my life opened up. And I had to let go of a lot of friends. I mean, I still love them, wish them well, but I don't invest my energy and my time so much into them. Because if somebody is going to be complaining all the time, is that the energy we want to be around? Or do we want to be around people that are doing amazing things in this world and bringing more light and encouraging us and sharing and being able to communicate on such a high conscious level? So I think it's important for everybody to find their community of what they want to experience in life, because the people you surround yourself with, the thoughts that you surround yourself with is going to manifest in every single way in return in your 3D reality.
Amen. I love everything you said. And keeping that alive. I'm going ahead and see Tracy right after this. I'm going to Vancouver tomorrow because I found the tribe, and it still takes effort to keep it alive. So jumping on that flight, going to go see Tracy. And then in Miami for New Year's, I'm going to see Elena, Tracy, and I believe Erin. We're continuously just keeping that, because I found when you start to find your tribe, you're just like, oof, this is how I want to live. This is the environment I want. And I just thank you as well for putting on a podcast too that dives into these conversations that I think matter more than all the other stuff. Like, this is the stuff that's juicy and yummy and purposeful. And thank you for just being a great friend over the trip too. You really, really made my experience in so many different ways. I think we took random sites like the forest and turned it into this whole experience. And someone could have just walked by the forest and been like, oh, it looks a little dark. And I'm like, no, wait, there's something here. And we go in the forest and had like such a beautiful experience with the land and got to like learn so much. So anyhow, just so grateful for you. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just, I think it's a metaphor for like just every place that you are. If you just open to listening to what's happening around you, you can extract so much. The energy, the feelings, the emotions. Every moment is packed with so much juice that if we squeeze this juice, we can get so much out of it. Whether it's the relationships, whether it's the experiences that we have. Peru, going into that forest, we did like tarot readings in there. We lit some sage in there, and we were able to listen to the forest. And in a lot of these sacred sites, it was made with really amazing intentions. But over the thousands of years that it's been around, I'm sure people used these, they understood the power of these sites, and potentially some people use them for maybe darker things, right? Because they're holding so much power. So when you're able to see that and feel it when you go into a place, and then able to transmute that and, do a blessing on the land and showing it love.
Mm.
You feel amazing when you're in that place and you're doing work for your ancestors, you're doing work for all the millions of people that have come through there, and hopefully it goes forward and brings more light into people that now come there to those sites. So I think we did activations in so many different places, and we did some hape ceremonies together, and I want to thank you for that, for facilitating that, because I've done hape in the past, but just do it as a sacred site like that, it was so powerful. And I was able to just have the awareness of everything I'm holding on to physically and emotionally and thoughts and, things that I'm doing in my life in terms of business and stuff. Really questioning my identity and seeing, am I holding on to certain things in life just because that's my role or the role that I've appointed myself? Or if I let go of certain things, now a whole different world opens up to me. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And it's really, every time you make a bold decision, you're going to prosper. It's going to open up your whole world and your whole universe to something that's different. So I thank you for those experiences, because yeah, like my whole life has changed tremendously since Peru, and everything is so much deeper. My love for my family is so much deeper. My new friend circle, my soul family, like looking at everybody on Instagram and seeing just the beauty in their soul, on their face, it just glows, and that they're doing this, the work that they do in society. And yeah, it's super inspirational. So I want to thank you for that. So I have a couple of last questions for you.
Oh, okay.
Um, why do you think you came here to planet Earth as Michelle Argyris, and what did you want to experience?
Okay. As Michelle Argyris, I feel I came to planet Earth to help wake up humanity, to remember who we are, who we've always been, and who we will always be in a safe way within their body. So finding that safety while being fully expressed and getting to really dive into the depths of being so, so human and letting that be so beautiful. So that was my first one. What was the second question?
And who or what is God?
God is every single tree, every person, every heart, every beat around us. God is what came before us, what we are, what will come after us. I feel God is the greatest thing that will ever be, always.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That's beautiful. Any final shares?
Mm, I would love to do a little closing prayer. I'd love for you to host it.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Let's tap into the heart.
Okay.
I want to share my gratitude to you, Michelle, to all of our audience, to my community,
Mm.
to the world. This life is the greatest game that we could ever imagine. And the moment we wake up to that understanding that it's everything you could possibly want, if you make the decisions to keep walking forward in faith, in love, in compassion, in forgiveness, tapping into our Christ consciousness, it's available for everyone, or Buddha consciousness or Krishna consciousness. It's not about a person. It's about this energy of love, and it's available to all of us. So I just want to share that. Thank you. Aho.
Aho. And aho to everyone listening. I hope you deeply felt this beautiful prayer. This is for us and for all of you. And may we all be a part of this beautiful elevation of this collective consciousness that we know is limitless.
Aho. Thank you.
Thank you.